It was a fascinating journey for a journalist to discover or rediscover an institution that has not been scrutinized much by the public. So when you say Supreme Court, what's really going on there? They decide cases, but what really goes on when they meet, when they are among themselves, because nobody else can be there during the deliberations of the justices. They do important work, yet they're not quite accountable to the public. I really wanted to push transparency and accountability in this book because the Supreme Court is the least scrutinized institution in this country.
In March of 2010, Marites Vitug came out with a book that probed the highest court of the land. Entitled Shadow of Doubt, the book was groundbreaking because no one had ever written about the inner workings of the Supreme Court, which had always been sacrosanct, mysterious even.
The first difficulty was getting information, was having access to information. Since they're very secretive, in one instance or two instances, the justices had to meet en banc, meaning all 15 of them, to decide whether you should release this piece of paper or not. So that's the first biggest challenge. The second was to get people to talk to me, cultivate sources who will trust me to be fair and accurate. The third challenge was to have it published, because when my original publisher saw the manuscript, the lawyer said they shouldn't continue publishing it. After the book was released, I received a lot of criticism from the people I hurt. And of course, there were the death threats, 3 consecutive days. So I had to go to the police and report everything. And it was very bruising, an experience.
The threats were serious enough to cause then presidential candidate Benigno Noynoy Aquino to call on the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, to provide protection for Marites. But threats and lawsuits were not new to this journalist. In 1993, she wrote the book Power from the Forest, The Politics of Logging, the story of how the Philippines' forests were being plundered and used as a political tool by power holders. Taking on illegal loggers in the Philippines, and anywhere for that matter, is an act of courage. Many have paid with their lives protecting the forests, and writing about illegal loggers is probably just as dangerous as physically protecting them.
When President Marcos left the country, I started to think about a book that will connect the environmental problem, degradation of the forest, to politics. So I was able to connect it, and again, it was the first book of its kind. So I think that's what brings me to certain issues, is that I like to blaze a trail, to go where few would like to go.
Marites had been an environmental reporter in the 1980s when environmental issues were not yet topical or of interest to many. Some of those articles brought on a huge libel suit by a Filipino timber tycoon with ties to a leading politician. Many years later, there were more suits that came her way, this time from a politician, then former First Gentleman Jose Miguel Arroyo, and then from a Supreme Court justice. In 1991, Marites Vitug received from the US-based International Women's Media Foundation the Courage in Journalism Award for her stories on logging. In 2000, she co-wrote Under the Crescent Moon, a book that tells the story of the Muslim rebellion in Mindanao. It won the National Book Award in 2001. Marites Vitug is first and foremost an investigative journalist and has been so for 30 years now. She was one of the founders of the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, an award-winning investigative media agency that has produced over 500 investigative reports, aside from books and documentaries. She is now the editor-in-chief of Newsbreak, an online current affairs publication, one of the most credible news magazines and recipient of many prestigious awards in journalism. For her work in Newsbreak, Marites was included in Eurasia Group's Global Leadership 50, a list of individuals who have influenced national, regional, and international politics. In spite of her many awards and recognition, Marites remains a soft-spoken, hard-working, and hard-hitting journalist. In 2009, the Philippines had been declared as the most dangerous place for a journalist by the International Federation of Journalists. But that never stopped Marites from doing what she does best. One could expect that she will continue to seek the truth in the name of social justice and good governance for many years to come.
I really love journalism. It's a passion. It's a profession that makes me connect to the public. It's a profession that affects people's lives or touches people's lives or helps shape opinion. I like the profession for being in the public sphere. It makes us go there, present ideas, present stories, and hopefully make the public more informed. So I like being in that arena.